We don't make the world a better place by watching movies, and we don't learn about important issues by watching movies. But sometimes a movie can help to shape your thoughts in a way that will make you more compassionate or make you more aware of the needs of others. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please be sure to click the like button and subscribe to this channel. I would really appreciate it. I recently watched the movie Sound of Freedom. It's a movie that I had heard about recently. People were talking about how this is an important movie that is exposing child trafficking. Now, I didn't want to watch this movie because I don't really care to watch vivid portrayals of very real human suffering situations, especially something involving children. But a friend wanted to take me to watch it, and so I ended up watching it. I thought I would take the chance to share some thoughts about this movie and talk a bit about the overall discussion that is going on about this movie. Now, I think it's fair to call this movie kind of a action, crime, thriller, or drama. And it is pretty heavy on the drama. It's very emotional. It certainly elicits a reaction from the audience. And if you, like me, don't really want to see something like this, I certainly don't blame you. I think people going into this movie should know what the premise is. The promoters aren't being shy about it. Yes, this is a movie that deals with child abuse and child trafficking. So, you don't have to watch this movie to learn about the topic, and if you go into this movie, know what it's about. So the story kind of revolves around a father in Honduras who loses his children. He is tricked into taking his children to an event, and his children are abducted. It's kind of like a parent's worst nightmare scenario. And then we get into the law enforcement side of these agents dealing with it, primarily this Tim Ballard, who's an agent for Department of Homeland Security. He gets involved in this case, but then has to resign his position with the agency in order to pursue the case to its conclusion. So you have the father, the children, this American agent, and then a Colombian police officer, as a lot of this movie takes place in Colombia, where the children have been taken to. Now, there's a very important character in this movie that I'm glad they included. It's this woman who is kind of the mastermind and the main culprit in the abduction and trafficking of these children. It's a young woman, a former model, who has turned to child trafficking. And this is something that really does go on in this underground dark world, where women who are very beautiful, very talented at presenting themselves, and may even themselves be survivors of abuse and trafficking, are the front people for these trafficking organizations, luring children in, gaining the confidence of children and their parents, presenting themselves as someone from a modeling agency who can help children to have a career in singing or modeling or some kind of performing. So we get taken through these different scenes, introduced to different characters along the way. There are do-gooders, there are villains, there are victims, desperate parents, all the kind of archetypal characters that you would expect in a movie made about child trafficking. And it does have a positive ending. It takes the viewers through the depths of the story and then has a positive conclusion where the children are freed and reunited with their parents, and the villains get what is coming for them. Now, this is a more serious film than I expected it to be. It's not quite on the same level as some of these more action-based movies, like, say, the Taken series starring Liam Neeson. This is a little bit more focused on actual law enforcement and investigators and people doing the real-life kind of work that it takes to rescue children. Now, I want to address some of the criticism directed at this film, namely that it is a vigilante promoting movie and that it is promoting conspiracy theories. Now, addressing the vigilante issue of it, there is perhaps a slight vigilante element to it, as the main character resigns his job and then goes off as a private citizen trying to solve this case, but it's in a fairly reserved manner. working with concerned citizens and working with the Colombian prosecutor's office to solve the cases. It's not quite the far-fetched action-based vigilantism that you would typically see in a crime thriller movie. And I also wouldn't say that this movie is promoting conspiracy theories, which is another accusation I've heard about this movie. The villains in this movie are fairly realistic. These kind of people do exist. And this movie isn't unrealistic in portraying the kinds of people who do these kinds of crimes at all levels. You have kind of the masterminds, and then the thugs, and then the rich clients. There are real-life gangs and networks of people who profit off of child trafficking, and it's not a conspiracy theory. And this movie, I think, has a fairly grounded approach to portraying that. So I think there is some misplaced criticism being directed at this movie. And having seen it, I would say that this movie is not a conspiracy theory movie, neither is it a violent vigilantism promoting movie. Now, I also have some criticism on the way that this movie is being promoted. It is being promoted as something that people should watch in order to raise awareness for the issue of child trafficking. In fact, people are being encouraged to watch it and to pay for other people to watch it as a way of pushing back against these kinds of crimes. The promoters and creators of this movie are holding it up as if this movie is helping with this issue. Now, I've seen this tactic used before to promote movies, and it's always kind of bothered me. I think it kind of shows the self-importance of these movie stars and these directors, where they think that their work of art is more than it really is. You know, it's a movie. It may be a movie that is thought-provoking. It may be a good movie, but it's not really anything greater than that. Getting people to watch your movie isn't a way of fighting against child trafficking. Now, I don't know if this phenomenon exists around the world, but it certainly is an American phenomenon where people are encouraged to feel good about themselves because they watched a movie, that like they are doing the right thing by watching a movie, and they are doing the right thing by spreading the word about a movie to get other people to go and watch this movie. I think it's part of the overdone American celebrity culture where we really idolize the stars and their productions. And of course, you know, the American film industry is by far the biggest film industry in the world, and American movie stars are the biggest movie stars in the world. So it's safe to say that there is an overemphasis on the importance of these movie stars and their productions, where it's pretty easy for these good-looking, well-spoken Hollywood actors to convince the American public that their movies are more than they really are. And people start agreeing with these stars that yes, their movie is a form of activism, and that by watching their movie you are engaging in that activism, and you are helping to solve issues by watching movies. Now, this is a movie about child trafficking and about people working to rescue children from trafficking gangs. This is not an educational experience. If you want to become more aware of this issue and educate yourself on the issue, there are articles you can read and books you can read that actually would be educational. Now, I don't mean to say that this movie is pointless, but let's just keep things in perspective and understand what things are and what things aren't. We don't make the world a better place by watching movies, and we don't learn about important issues by watching movies. But sometimes a movie can help to shape your thoughts in a way that will make you more compassionate or make you more aware of the needs of others. And in that way, there can be a benefit to watching this or that movie. The sorrows that Jesus saw moved him to compassion. And, you know, the sorrows of the world, when we see them portrayed, can touch our hearts and also move us to compassion, love in action. So if a movie entertains you and maybe makes you take a greater interest in the plight of others, then a movie can have a good effect on you. And certainly there are things that can be done to help with this issue of child abuse and child trafficking. You could help personally by donating to an organization that you find to be trustworthy and work with people who are helping the vulnerable. Or, you know, maybe you're interested in a political solution and you can vote for politicians who have a track record of helping the poor and vulnerable, people who will lift the loads off of people's lives and make the lives of the poor safer and easier. There are things that can be done, and maybe this movie can inspire people to action and have a good effect in that way. On the same track, there is nothing wrong with people for not liking this movie, and I've heard quite a bit of criticism directed at people who don't care for this movie, or people who are leery of the political agenda being pushed by the movie's promoters like Jim Caviezel. If someone doesn't like Jim Caviezel or doesn't want to watch this movie, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a movie. Let's keep things in their place, keep a sound perspective on what movies are and what they aren't. Now, as I talked about, this movie on its face is not a conspiracy theory movie. It is not promoting conspiracy theories, and it is not promoting a political agenda. However, a lot of the people involved in this movie and involved in promoting this movie certainly are doing that. And maybe I'll talk about that in its own separate video, some of the political issues surrounding this movie. But in this video, I just want to talk about how I felt about the movie and what it portrays. So as always, I look forward to reading your comments. Please let me know what you think about this movie or about the issues surrounding this movie. Let me know what you think about my commentary on it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.